Hello everybody and welcome back to Beyond Conviction. Today's content is going to be slightly different to the videos I normally upload. We're going to be discussing today the tragic and shocking murder of baby Preston by these two absolute animals. One question I do want you all to think about is, should the United Kingdom bring back the death penalty for cases like this? If you're not too sure, I'm going to summarise the case, and by the end you will hopefully have a better and more clearer opinion as to if we should bring back the death penalty. So to get into it, Jamie Varley, aged 37, was convicted of murdering the 13-month-old during an assault of a sexual nature on the 27th of July 2023. He was handed a whole life order by High Court Judge Mr. Justice Turner. The judge told him, "This is a case of the utmost gravity. You will stay in prison for the whole of your life. You will never be released." His partner, John McGowan Verzakely, aged 32, was also sentenced for his role in Preston's death, as well as a joint attack of a certain nature on the helpless child 4 days earlier. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. So a bit of background. Preston was born to a convicted murderer named Sarah Davey. 5 days after he was born, Preston was taken into the care of Oldham Council, and at 9 months old was handed over to Varley and McGowan Verzakely, who had been approved to adopt a child. But more or less straight away, Preston, God bless his soul, was subjected to ever-increasing abuse at the hands of teacher Varley. McGowan Verzakely did turn a blind eye to the abuse, and in July 2023 took part in a joint attack on Preston, of which 4 days after that attack, Preston was taken to Blackpool Victoria Hospital in cardiac arrest and was pronounced dead on the evening. Varley was found guilty of murder, GBH, sexual assault, cruelty and image offences of Preston. McGowan Verzakely was convicted of causing or allowing Preston's death, cruelty and sexual assault. So Varley was given a whole life order, which means he will never be eligible for release from prison. And his partner, McGowan Verzakely, was handed a 25-year prison sentence. But in my opinion, there's no amount of time a person can spend in prison that could even begin to scratch the surface of a justified sentence. I believe that these two people, if that's what you want to call them, they should be just dangled at the end of a rope, and taxpayers' money should be spent on protecting children like Preston. But without the provisions of a death penalty, the next best thing is something called prison justice. So Preston Davies' killer, Jamie Varley, is allegedly trying to protect himself behind bars by changing his identity, because he's going to be forever looking over his shoulder in prison. Because sex offenders, rapists, anything to do with women and children in prison, those people are classed as VPs, which is vulnerable prisoners. And in normal straight-going prisons, those sort of people are segregated in a wing of their own. As it stands now, Jamie Varley is housed in HMP Wakefield, which is dubbed Monster Mansion. And unfortunately for him, he is going to be a moving target whilst he is there, or whilst he's in any prison, quite frankly. But what he's trying to do to evade prison justice, he's officially submitted paperwork to change his name via deed poll, which cost around £50. He's also added a new middle name to his identity. So his new name allegedly is Harry Robb. He's added the middle name J, which is spelt J-A-E. So his new identity that he's applied for is Harry J. Robb. which I don't understand, because his face is forever imprinted onto the minds of people who have read this case. So you can change your name to, Bob Marley if you want. There will be somebody who whatever prison he goes to, there will be someone who will recognise him. That is guaranteed. Rightly so, he has every right to be bricking it in HMP Wakefield. If you've been looking at the news for the past few months, there has been a good handful of murders and attacks in there on prisoners. One, namely, would be that Lost Prophets singer called Ian Watkins. He was murdered at HMP Wakefield. Also, there was another attack on a child killer in HMP Wakefield quite recently, of which 3 prisoners were sentenced to whole life orders for his death. So this Jamie Varley does have every right to be shitting himself, as any man would be. But he is very deserving of these attacks, and there's no sympathy there. Definitely not. If you were to review the arrest video of Jamie Varley, when you know you've done something wrong, a good person would just put their hands up and say, right, this is what I've done. But obviously, due to the gravity of the offence, he is not only trying to act like a grieving adoptive father, but he's wanting the attention, which shows a large level of narcissistic behaviour. It is just creepy that someone could do that to a defenceless little child, but then want all the attention in the hospital by the police and the nursing staff and put on a performance. It's just pure narcissism. And I've got the arrest footage here, and you can look at it and make your own opinion.
No, this is not happening. This is the Lord. This is not happening. Lord. I can't, no, please. No.
Jamie, come on.
No, I
Jamie,
can't. Please kill me. Please.
Jamie.
Please.
Jamie?
I can't.
Will you sit there for
No,
me?
this is not.
Jamie.
No.
Jamie, look at me.
No.
Jamie, look.
I mean, what an absolute mushroom he is. He is what I'd like to call oxygen thief. He is just tragic. He's terrible. An absolute monster. I mean, who behaves like this? When your adoptive son is on death's door, but you want to make it all about you. It's absolutely insane, and I just can't fathom how anyone can behave like this unless there's something deeply, deeply wrong with them upstairs. But news just in, whilst Jamie Varley has been in HMP Wakefield, he's been conducting a hunger strike and refusing to take solid food, which is obviously a drain on the prison system, because you have multiple checks. They're constantly trying to get him to eat. He has doctors and nurses going to check his vitals to see because what they're trying to do is keep him alive. And apparently, but this hasn't been 100% confirmed, he is going to be transferred to Rampton Secure Hospital. And as a man who has been in prison himself, I've never been to a secure hospital, but I've met those who have. And it is, compared to prison, it's cushy. As far as secure accommodation goes, it is cushy. Because you're not even referred to as a prisoner whilst you're there, even though it looks like a prison because it's got all the security fencing and walls around it. You are classed as a patient. So what's going to happen is the cost of his care in Rampton compared to being in a high security prison, the cost of his care is going to be a whole lot more. And that is a lot more money the taxpayer is going to have to spend to effectively look after this guy, keep him alive. Why would you want to keep this guy alive? I just don't understand that. But what I want to do is encourage good, sensible, honest debate in the comments. should this man and his partner as well, because not a lot gets said about his partner. He was, in my opinion, on par with this absolute animal, but not a lot gets said about him. But as Jamie Varley was the one who was convicted of the little baby Preston's death, he is where the nation's attention is focusing on right now. But both him and his partner should both be dangled. If this was in the 1950s, they would not even be here. They'd have been at the end of a rope. And rightly so. How much is the cost of rope? Not a lot. Go to B&Q, and get a good strong rope for next to nothing. It costs a good, 5-figure sum to keep a person in prison every year. Why should we, the taxpayers, one, have to read such things, like this case, and two, have to go out, work, and pay for this guy to get fed, or for them to attempt to feed him, to be kept warm, to be entertained? Because let's not forget, prison isn't like a Soviet gulag in the UK. There is gym, there's canteen, there's exercise, there's a chance to associate with peers. So prison is effectively, as far as freedom goes, not too dissimilar to what it is like outside, because you do have some freedom to an extent. You still get food, like we eat meals out here. You have access to a gym, so you can keep yourself in shape in prison like you can out here. Why should someone be given the right to those little freedoms that us people outside who work, full-time jobs to try and pay for these, life's little privileges? Why should he get that at our expense? That's my view. I don't think it should happen at all. Personally, bring back the death penalty. That is my opinion. I do apologise if this video did seem a bit like a rant, but what I do want to do is, like I said, encourage some sensible debate, and because everything starts with debate, you never know where it might end up. It might end up in front of the eyes of the people down Westminster. You just never know. So I believe this case is as good as any to call into question, should we bring back the death penalty? I'd leave it up to you guys to discuss it. If you've got any questions, if you've got any thoughts, please share them in the comments, and where necessary, I will reply to them. But please just be sensible. Don't argue. Don't offend each other. I know differences of opinion can cause rifts between people, but just let's try and keep it as an educational exercise and as a friendly debate. Should we, for cases like this, bring back the death penalty? In my opinion, absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. As soon as you're sentenced, you're taken from court. Allow a few days for your right to appeal, because you never know. Some people have been known to be wrongly convicted. Have a right to a fair, thorough, unjust appeal. And if that comes to no avail, get yourself to the drop and get your head through a rope. That's my opinion, and I'd like to know yours. So thank you for listening. I hope this will encourage, some form of political discussion, so to speak. But yeah, thank you, and more content. Not much like this, but more content will be coming. So yeah, peace and love, guys. Thank you.